Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the IdOMUSIC podcast, and our goal and our mission is to empower and educate musicians and artists worldwide. And on today's episode, we sat down with producer Supah Mario discussing how he's been influenced by music his entire life, his advice to young producers, and how to be persistent chasing the dream despite your struggles. Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the IdOMUSIC podcast, and I'm sitting with producer Supah Mario.
What's going on?
What's up? How you feeling?
Nervous as usual, but other than that, excellent.
Don't be nervous. This is chill. We chilling.
All right, cool.
My Pisces, bro.
Yep.
You're 3 days after me.
Mm-hmm.
I just discovered that recently. Actually born the same year as my brother, so we're like, we're not too far apart. You are a producer with many accolades, especially, I guess most recently people know you from Blue Tent with Drake.
Mm-hmm.
But, you were working with Thug for a minute. We got that Wyclef Jean record. Big Crit. The list goes on. Your discography is pretty lit, but I think most recently, like I said, people can credit you for that Blue Tent record.
Yeah, that seems to be what everybody knows me for now.
Drake seems to do that for people. Usually it's like, once you get on a Drake record or Drake gets on your record, it's like you take off.
Yep.
Is that true? Is that true for you?
I don't know. I don't know. I honestly, I try not to focus on where I'm at in my career. And I'm always like really zoned in on what the next record is. So, but it has brought me some new fans, some new work. So it's doing something.
It's positive.
Yeah.
You just went to your very first concert, actually, which was the Drake show this past weekend. I went to the Friday one. You went to the Saturday one. How was that experience?
It was awesome. That was a great show.
I can't believe that was your first concert.
Yeah. Well, it's not my first concert. It's my first arena concert. I've been to a show here and there. I've been in little showcases at home,
right.
But this was like a real deal experience for me. Being able to see all the
production and
the lights and everything that comes with the show. It was dope.
I wish you would have seen Astroworld. That was
I want to see
unbelievable.
It was here already?
Yeah, it was here. Then they did the thing back where he's from in Houston, but it was crazy. Like they had a whole roller coaster.
When is he going to LA?
I don't know. I didn't know if the tour was continuing or if like he finished in Houston. I'm not sure.
I think it just started.
It just started. Okay, yeah. I have no idea.
Okay,
I didn't think he would start with Atlanta. But it was dope. It was a good, in terms of production, Drake and Travis Scott had, two of the best shows I've seen this year. So I'm happy you got to experience that. Let's get into it, though. You're from Columbus, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
You started at a very young age with this music thing, age 3, which is crazy. You were playing the drums in church. How did that come about?
Just being around a lot of musicians. Everybody in my family is a musician.
Who your mom and dad, your parents, or?
Well, not my mom. She's a nurse.
Mine too.
She's a caretaker. That's honestly her gift. But my dad's side of the family is really musical. My grandmother sings. My aunt sings. My uncles all play instruments.
Can you sing?
I cannot sing. My sister can sing. She is phenomenal.
Really?
But she chose a different path. She went into the Army. Oh, she's always been super nervous about singing in front of people.
Gotcha.
But growing up, we couldn't get her to shut up. So,
So what did Dad do music-wise?
He plays the bass.
Oh, wow.
And he's somewhat of a producer, too. He's all around musical, but his gift is being able to play the bass.
Got you. That's dope. Bass is a very difficult instrument. My niece is learning.
I want to learn. I'm getting it, but I really need to spend some time on it if I want to get it for real.
Yeah, it's not easy feat. So at 3 years old, what were you doing in church? You was for real playing? Getting it?
Nah, they wouldn't let me play during service or nothing. They would let me play after church.
Right.
But when I got old enough, in most cases, once you get old enough, somebody's retiring or somebody's going to do some other stuff, and they kind of let you take over. So as I got older, I was allowed to do more stuff. They'll let me play for the kids choir or something.
Right. So when did you really get into the producing side, or when did you know that you could produce? Like, because I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, in terms of music and me playing an instrument, all that stuff, like I didn't really think about like production. I'm more so thought about maybe like songwriting and just making a song for myself, but like not the production side. When did that come about for you?
I mean, I was like you. I wanted to write songs. I actually didn't want to be a producer at first. I wanted to be in a rock band. I wanted to play drums in a rock band or like write for other artists and stuff like that. But my uncle, he had a studio at his house, and they all had like this little group, and they would go to studios just like this. And so I was exposed to this environment early. But as far as knowing how to program stuff, I didn't really pick up on that stuff until I was about 12 years old. So I started going to his house. I used to stay at his house on the weekends. My dad would let me go over there, and I would stay up all night trying to figure out his drum machine and just like how to at least just make a pattern, make a beat pattern. And then somewhere around, I think 14 to 15, I discovered Fruity Loops, and that's when it became real for me. That's when it was like, all right, I'm not going to worry about being in a band because nobody here wants to be in a band with a black dude. Like, nobody wants to be in a rock band. So I was like, okay, I'm going to learn how to produce.
Which sucks, but I feel you.
And I would have been sick too, man. I'm really good at that type of stuff. So. But it's all good. I mean,
different path,
It turned out good.
It turned out the way it was supposed to be. So how would you say South Carolina or Columbus really influenced, or if it did influence your like production and the way you create, aside from your family being like musical, the things that you were seeing around you, your environment, what would you say, or how would you say that influenced your music?
I don't think it influenced my music as much as it influenced my drive. Because, no one from where I'm at really made it. And no one, like, there's a lot of people that want to do music, but we don't have the scene, or we don't have just the proper resources to blow up like we should. Mm-hmm. So it kind of just drove me to want to do it for real.
So what brought you to Atlanta, or when did you come to Atlanta?
I came to Atlanta like a year and a half ago.
Oh, so this is a recent move.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, so we'll get into Atlanta later then. Who would you say some of your influences were early on, like in terms of production, in terms of maybe even just what you were inspired by? And I asked the question of like your environment to more so, as artists and creatives, you're inspired by what you see usually. So what were you looking at?
I mean, I'm a visual artist too. So I mean, I was into like comic book stuff. I was into graffiti.
I mean, Supah Mario. Let's start there.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, I'm not a video game person. I was for a while, but I wasn't playing Supah Mario. I was like really into like Tekken and karate games or whatever. But
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, for sure. But it was like I got into like visual arts and music videos, and like that really inspired how I wanted to transcend my sound. I really wanted to change. I wanted my music to match visuals. Mm-hmm. And at first I didn't even think about making beats for rappers. I wanted to do music for TV.
Right.
So a lot of my sound comes from like movie scoring. You probably haven't heard that in any of my recent placements because I got to adjust to what the industry wants. But if I really was able to pursue my passion like I wanted to, a lot of the music you hear from me would sound way different.
Like, if you could, like Star Wars production, or like...
I would actually incorporate some of that stuff, some of those elements. But I mean, I'm into like brass. I'm into like heavy strings and, stuff like that.
Got you. Okay. So I know I watched an interview recently where you're like, I'm really influenced by, I think it was the Mass Appeal one. You're really influenced by a lot of Caribbean records, and you ended up selecting a record that was heavily influenced by the Caribbean. It was so random and weird. But why the Caribbean? Do you have any ties to the islands? Or?
I do not, but I don't know. I don't know what it was about. I think it was just really the wave that hit the U.S. when that stuff started going up. I just kind of got into it. But I mean, my main influence is really rock. Rock and roll and a lot of jazz.
Which is rap music.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Which is rap music. Like, that's what everybody's a rock star.
So
What'd you say?
when people ask me about the Caribbean stuff, I don't want to give them the impression that I was like studying that music, because I knew nothing about this stuff before it hit the U.S.
Gotcha.
You know, but somehow I was able to like catch the wave and make a record. So
Like Wyclef Jean.
yeah,
That was a great one.
thank you.
How'd you link up with Thug?
I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. To this day, I'm still trying to figure out how he got his first beat from me, which was 2 Cup Stuff.
Right.
So like, I tell the story all the time. I'm like sleep on my couch, getting ready for work. I was a janitor, and I was getting ready to go to work at night. And one of my little homies called me or text me. He was like, "Bro, you mess with Young Thug?" I didn't have a clue who this dude was. And I was like, "No, I don't even know who that is, bro." He was like, "It's this dude in Atlanta, bro. He got one of your beats."
And you were back at home at this point, yeah.
Yeah, I was still trying to figure out how I was going to get my first placement, my first real placement.
Mm-hmm.
And that one happened to be it. And probably 6 or 7 months later, that's when they called me to like do an actual deal for the song.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
From there, like I started coming down here, traveling back and forth just to get in the studio with him, and you know, people like him. It was cool though. We've been in the studio a couple times, but never really developed like a real serious relationship where we could like work together on a regular basis. But I don't know.
Are you looking for that?
I'm still looking for, to this day, I'm still looking for that.
Okay. So let's rewind a little bit, because you did mention that you were a janitor prior to now being, are you full-time producing?
Absolutely.
Right. So you're full-time producing. How did you realize, or at what moment did you realize you could pursue that full-time and like really chase your dreams? Obviously that moment was one of them, but like it's still just a very surreal thing to say like, okay, I'm going to chase a dream, especially I know you have a young daughter.
Mm-hmm.
You have to support and sustain for yourself and your family. How do you realize like, okay, I got to really give my 110 to this?
I mean, it's that alone that makes me want to go hard every day. So it's kind of like always being on edge, knowing that it just is not guaranteed. So I got to work as hard as I can. I got to hustle just as much as anybody else to keep this job that I love so much.
Right.
So it's like it's a gamble every day, but having good people on your team, running into the right people, meeting these executives, these publishers, these A&Rs, and like developing relationships with them to keep me working. You know, I'm like always hitting up Atlantic Records, always hitting up a Republic, whoever. Hey man, I got records for whoever y'all new artist is, whatever. You know, just staying in people's ear. So one of the biggest things that allowed me to be able to make the transition from being a 9-to-5 worker into being a producer was a publishing deal. Being able to take a certain amount of money up front, live off that for a couple of years and hustle.
That's real. And I wanted to ask you that we can just kind of go straight into handling the business part, which we stress at Patchwerk all the time. But so recently, or actually today, there's like this whole thing with Juice WRLD and Nick Myra, maybe is how you say the name, sampling the Sting record.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't sample it. What is it called? The interpolation. Yeah. Thank you, Anthony. So just talking about like your publishing and like really handling the business on that end as the producer, if you are sampling records, if you are doing these things, and a lot of times, often than not, you just sending off records and, you know, you just trying to shoot. You shooting a shot at these artists, but what do you have to do on your end in order to ensure that you get paid?
Having a good lawyer.
Right. First things first.
For sure. Having a good lawyer and just demanding, you know, your worth. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to try you. Hey, man, we got this record coming out. We're calling it a mixtape, but we're going to put it all over on all the digital streaming services. Like, I hear that same rhetoric every time I got a record coming out, unless it's like a Drake project.
Right.
So 9 times out of 10, I just tell them, yo, talk to my lawyer or talk to my manager. I don't handle any of that business. I got to focus on music.
Right.
You know, and they get that stuff done for me. So having a good team will help you get this stuff done. Because
How do you establish, like, what's the first step in establishing the team? Like, is it a lot of trial and error, or do you just lucked up on your end?
it is. It's a lot of trial and error. I mean, I fired and hired a couple of people. And just going back to your last statement about this whole Sting thing, ironically, I've had the same situation happen to me
Really?
with the producers who are going through it with Sting.
Oh, wow.
See, Nick Muir is a part of Internet Money. And Blue Tent, I used some of their loops in that record, and they ended up coming at me the same way, like, yo, bro, like, you using our stuff in your record, bro, we got to get a percentage of this. So you got to be prepared if you're gonna like use somebody else's work, and you can't take it the wrong way. You got to know that this is fair. It's fair business, that you have to give these guys credit, and you have to split, the profits with these guys who contributed to this record.
Right.
So it is.
I mean, it's only fair. Yeah. And now
I
it's
didn't
like,
take it no kind of way. I was cool with it.
like, yeah. I mean, like, initially though, did you expect any like backlash from it, or that they would even pick up on it?
Nah, because sometimes we aren't aware if something is royalty free or not.
True.
And that's something that you got to be careful with. You got to be careful when you're shopping on the internet, looking for sounds and looking for stuff to build beats off of. You got to make sure that you read the fine print. Because you don't know if this stuff is like royalty free, or if somebody's going to sell you something and then come for more money later.
Exactly. That's a big thing. I mean, even when we were talking off the record just about sending off records, you're not necessarily, you weren't in the studio with Drake with this Blue Tent record. It was just the transaction. It's very different from like back in the day when people were like in the studio, you're with your producer, y'all are working on like albums.
Right.
More than just the record. How do you feel about this new way of working with artists? Do you enjoy it? Do you, have concerns?
The proper term for it is frustrating. It is extremely frustrating.
Why?
Because it kind of puts us in a weird position. We have to play the role of the producer and the artist in that aspect, because we got to guess what the song is supposed to sound like before it even gets in the artist's hands when we're sending beats out. Nobody wants to sit down and write a record with the producer anymore. And that, it just makes it hard for me to give you what you need if you're not there.
Right.
I got to guess.
I don't know what you want. Yeah.
Yeah. So
how do you go about guessing?
I use the same system when I'm making beats every time. 12-bar verses, 8-bar choruses. Simple.
So do they have that opportunity at that point to rearrange, like once they get the record?
Yeah, but 9 times out of 10 they won't. They'll either like it enough to write to it how it is, or they'll hear something that they don't like and skip the record altogether. So it's like it's a gamble.
Right. That's interesting. If you had to work with an artist, how would that situation work for you? Like an ideal situation, if this one artist you meet, would they be like a singer? Would they be like, if you could say someone that could fit your sound?
My ideal sound is actually somebody who, I wouldn't say necessarily have to be a singer, but is like utilizes a lot of melody. I love melody. So I like rappers too, but I don't know, man. Like, if maybe I should give you an example of a person.
Yeah.
Like anybody from Memphis, I would love to work with a Memphis style rapper. I would love to work with like sort of a Post Malone type rapper or singer. Anybody who's like in a pop lane.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and if I had my ideal setting, it would be to be able to write in my own studio. I would record the songs and produce them, and mix them how I like them. Obviously, the artist will have to like them too, but it'll just be us. It'll be us working on this project together. And actually, that's what I'm doing right now with an artist.
You are working with the artist.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's awesome. So I was going to ask you, like, how have you crafted your own sound? I know you talked about like heavy on the brass and the strings for your ideal sound for that you enjoy producing, but why do you think artists come to you specifically for a record and not anybody else? Like, they're like, I want this Supah Mario record versus Drum Boy or whoever.
I think with me, I use unique sounds. I don't always use like regular pianos or regular strings. I always go for like weird spacey sounds. So I attract artists who want to be more in this atmospheric vibe, I guess, you know. And sometimes I mean like I'm able to switch, I'm able to be versatile. So just my sound kind of built itself. And it kind of adjusts compared, I mean, it adjusts particularly to the artist. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but
No, I know what you
know.
mean. Like you adjust your sound around that particular.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about how much success you've seen with Blue Tent since Blue Tent. But what's one of your like favorite records to date that you've produced, even if it's not out yet? Like it's something that you've just done and you're like, damn, this is my favorite song.
One that's out is actually this song I did for OT Genesis called Busted. And I don't know why that record didn't do what it was supposed to do, but that should have been a single. That record's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a super hard record. But another record that's not out is I'm not gonna say it. I'm not even gonna say it.
You just tell me later. It's fine. Okay, I can get the exclusive later. So how would you say you measure success? Because I mean, I said that kind of openly, or a blanket statement of like, you know, you've seen such success with Blue 10 and like people are talking about it because of that. But I don't think just from like all that you've done that is like that's how we're going to measure your success at all. So how would you measure your personal success?
I mean, first of all, how I would measure success with anybody is just like anybody else would. Whenever you're happy, you know, when you're happy, that's when you're successful. When you're content. With me, I'm never content. So I don't consider myself to be successful yet. I have been blessed in certain situations, but success to me is when I've reached just this state of happiness that I'm looking for right now. And not just happiness in music, it's just happiness in life. You know, everybody wants to they have this idea of where they want to be in life and like what life is supposed to be like. And I feel like that's obtainable. If you go for it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. What's one thing you wish you would have known then that you know now? It can be professionally, personally, anything. Just something you wish you would have known then that you know now.
That good things do not come to people who wait.
That's real. Why you say that?
Because a lot of good things that I got, I had to go get it.
Yeah. Like you coming back and forth to Atlanta.
For sure.
How was that experience, you traveling back and forth? A lot of times, you know, I'm sure you were working and, you know, trying to handle what you needed on your end, but still pursue this passion. Like how was that time for you?
It was uncomfortable at first. It was still fun. I love traveling anyway. I like long driving, so it was fun, but a little bit uncomfortable. And then after a while, I kind of made enough money to make myself comfortable, getting the Airbnbs, or not having to sleep on people's floors and stuff like that. So it became pretty much like regular life to me. It was just something that I knew was just a part of my everyday life.
Right. It's just a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
Adapting. Are you good at adapting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it might be a Pisces thing.
Me too. Yeah, it definitely is. So you spoke a little bit about relationships and like having those relationships with the label, especially. But like, why are relationships important for the producer? Not just to the label, but to the artist or to the manager or whoever, having a relationship with your lawyer and just business, handling a business. Why is that important in music?
Well, I mean, in this industry, it seems like there's favoritism to a degree, and there's also this thing where if people know you well enough or they've seen you a couple times, then they're more likely to refer to you for something. It's just like face card, you know. You got a good face card, you're reputable, people are gonna keep coming back to you. They don't want to get to know new people in this industry.
What do you think the producer has to, or how do you think the producer has to be in order for people to want to work with you? Like what sort of character traits? I know often you're not even really interacting with the artist, but I still think, you know, word of mouth, like, hey, he was cool when I met him or whatever. How do you think you have to be as a producer in order to be successful with certain artists?
I think you have to be a good listener. And I think you have to be intuitive.
What do you mean by that?
Intuitive means like when someone can't really explain the sound that they're going for, you gotta
Have that gut feeling.
yeah, and you gotta kind of be able to tell what they're talking about without them actually saying it. So, because a lot of people don't know the right terms. Even me, I don't know what I'm looking for sometimes, but I know what I want it to sound like.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can somehow describe it just in the slightest way, if you can pick up on that, you my guy. Like this is what I'm coming to.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
because I've been in the artist's shoes before, so I know kind of what to look for, especially when it comes to not just a producer but an engineer as well.
So yes, talk about it. You had aspirations of being an artist yourself?
Yeah.
When?
I think I was 15. I was in this little rap group. Some guys from Columbia. It was me and like 3 other guys, and we did a couple shows here and there. I was the one making all the beats,
Of
obviously.
course.
But
what was the song? What was y'all song y'all always performed?
Listen, I'm almost 30. I don't remember.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
That was a pivotal moment in your music career. You don't remember?
Mm-mm.
He's like, nah, I'm not trying to go. Were y'all good?
I do remember our first show.
Where was it?
Oh, I do remember a song. We had this song called She Say She a Model or something like that. I don't know. I used to write a lot of the hooks, so. But I stopped rapping because I hated my voice. I didn't like the way my voice sounded. I had like this super like raspy hardcore voice, and it didn't work.
Yeah, you a little nervous in this mic today. You're like, I don't know about this. I like your voice though. It's not bad.
Am I speaking? Okay. But yeah, it was weird. So
you gave it up.
Yep.
Are the people in the rap group still pursuing music?
I'm not sure. I haven't spoke to them in a while. I haven't spoke to anyone in a while.
Why?
I got so busy, man. And then like I'm a dad now, so like all my past friends, they try to keep in touch with me, and it's like, yo, bro, hit me on Instagram. I don't mean to be a dick. I'm not trying to be like super Hollywood with nobody, but after a while, I just got to a point where it's like, I don't really got nothing to talk about. I gotta get money, bro.
You gotta protect your energy too in your space.
Man, see, I was trying to say that without saying that.
No, it's real.
But yeah,
you do have to protect your space and your energy, and I respect that. I respect anybody who can admit that to themselves. But being a dad, you have to balance this personal life plus your business life. And oftentimes than not, you're in the studio or you're like working. How do you balance, or do you balance?
Man, that's one of the toughest things for me personally, because I see a lot of kids, and I'm gonna say kids because I'm a lot older than some of these guys in the industry, but I see a lot of these new kids, some of these younger dudes, and they don't have no kids. They can do this for hours. They can spend all day doing this and not really worry about responsibilities. They can travel across the world and do whatever they need to do. And I can't. But it makes me go hard. It makes me put in twice as much work when I do go to work. So, I mean, I don't really have nothing to complain about. I've been able to make it this far, but it's been a burden at times, and like especially when I'm out of town, you're trying to work, you're trying to focus, but you're thinking about home and you're thinking about your kid. And you're like, dang, I miss my kid. I'm ready to go back. But right. I know I got to stay and get this work done. And then you'll get a picture or a FaceTime, and it's like, you're killing me right now.
Right. Oh.
Yeah. So,
how old is she?
She's 5. She just turned 5.
Kindergarten?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
She was born in October. So
on the way. On the way to kindergarten. That's exciting times. Yeah, you don't want to miss anything, but you also want to, continue to get the bag.
Yeah,
you need the bag.
I'm getting used to it though. I mean, I learned how to like shut certain things out when I'm working, and I mean this is characteristics that you develop just over time, naturally.
So like, how do you maintain your personal, like, your mental, we often talk about how difficult, or we really don't talk about it actually in the music business, how difficult it is being a creative and like not getting in your own head, getting out of your own way.
I'm the wrong person to talk to about this because I stay in my own head.
Me too, but I mean that's why we got to talk about it.
I don't know. I don't.
How you get out your head?
I don't. I just.
Do you think you have to?
Not really, because sometimes that helps me be creative. And like if I'm not thinking about the next move or the next best way to do something, and then I'll lose focus. So I'm always staying focused on what I need to do. Like before I got here, it's like, okay, I know I need to finish this website. I'm doing my hoodie line right now. I got to writing all this stuff down. Like staying focused on the task instead of just wondering. But I'm still in my head.
Right.
But I'm focused.
No, I feel that completely. I'm probably the only person that understands that, but I totally can understand when you have 30 tabs open, but you still focused.
For sure.
Yeah. So, but also just like even down to like focusing on what you're doing and not everybody else. And we were talking about social media and just like, what even especially for like producers and artists who have so many younger, at 15 you learned about or you discovered Fruity Loops, but like at 12, like people are doing this early.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Kids are out here like, I know I want to be a producer and I know it's possible. So,
and the drive that some of these kids have. His kids hit me up in my inbox that's like 15 years old, like, bro, nobody won't give me a chance. And I'm like, bro, you ain't even did your homework today. What you talking about? Nobody, you act like you got 30 bills to pay this week.
Right.
So, but they hungry. They hungry just like somebody who's on the streets. It's amazing to see. And they're getting smarter. They just like they're learning these programs. They're learning what it takes to really to sound professional and be professional. And it's dope to me. Yeah, I'm about to take a water break.
Yeah, I'm like, but what advice would you give to those young producers who are like looking at you on the internet and like seeing what you're doing? Like, oh, he's worked with Drake, he's worked with Big Crit, he's done this, that, and the third. But then, they're looking at themselves like, well, what could I be doing? What would you say to them?
I just give them, I speak from experience. I give them what I can give them. And most of the time it's pace yourself. Don't be in such a rush. Make sure your sound is where it needs to be first. Like, yeah, I can put you in touch with people that I know, but that's not going to guarantee you anything.
Right.
You might have these connects for 15 years before you get a placement. And then by the time you get the placement, they're not relevant no more. So
that's true.
You got to be developing a whole new roster of people that you're working with. But I try to teach them the proper way and the proper channels to approach people.
Right.
Because it's how you approach people that's going to stick with them. Their first impression of you is not going to be the music. It's how you ask them or come at them in the first place.
Right. It's the approach. I definitely agree. How do you feel about the music industry in terms of the oversaturation of artists and music in general? Because when you just said like they might not even be relevant anymore, or just these things, is true. Like you can work with an artist today and tomorrow that mean nothing anymore. So when working as a producer, what are you looking for when you're like trying to place a record or build these relationships with artists? Are you looking for the indie artist that hasn't broke yet? Are you looking for the artist that's major right now? And that's, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm looking for both.
Yeah. You
got to stay focused on both. You got to be able to, you got to read talent, and you got to try to be in contact with what's current. And I'll try to be all across the board with it. I'm not the greatest at like discovering talent, but I try to keep up with what's hot and what's new. So you got to kind of be on your toes about everything.
How often are people reaching out to you like, hey, I'm trying to work?
Every day.
All day?
Every day, yeah. At least 3-4 times a day.
How often are you responding?
Whenever I actually check my messages, I respond. But like some days I'll like take my phone and just sit down and just go through all my messages and answer everybody that I can. I've never had this many people hit me up before, so this is new to me.
Is it overwhelming?
It can be overwhelming, but it's also kind of rewarding when you respond to somebody and then they're like, oh shit, like you hit me back, because a lot of these people don't even expect you to hit them back.
Right.
So
they're just shooting shots.
Right.
Me.
You shooting shots?
Hey, I got this.
All of us, everybody's been shooting shots, and that's the thing. So I know where I was, and I don't never want nobody to feel like how I felt when I first started out. So
Right.
I try to give as much attention to people as I can, just out of good faith and good karma.
Absolutely. I agree. So we were talking about your team, you developing that team and how you had to like, go through the trial and error, but like now that you found a team that works for you right now, what would you say is necessary to have on your team aside from the lawyer? You said management. Is there anything else that for especially for a producer? Because I think oftentimes you hear most producers say, like, I can handle my business on my own. Of course, like having a lawyer is necessary, and management is just going to take you further. But
It's all about what you lacking.
what do
If,
you think? Like, what's helped you rather,
um, I
and what are
think
their roles?
um, my lawyers definitely helped. Um, PR has helped,
Okay.
but I never hired a PR person like long term. I would just use somebody for the time being, just pay them for a specific service. But having a PR definitely helps. Especially it kind of depends on what type of producer you're trying to be, because a lot of these guys want to be behind the scenes. They don't really want to be exposed. But me, I want to be exposed. I got bigger aspirations than just making a beat.
Right. And what
So
are those? What aspirations do you have?
I mean, eventually I want to sign artists. Eventually I want to start my own label. Eventually I want to do humanitarian work. A lot of different stuff. So uh, me building that portfolio is going to require me to have some PR work done. And these people are in charge of making sure that you're seen, making sure that there's always some kind of news going on about you.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, finding a good PR person, when I say good, I don't mean like skilled. I mean finding an honest, worthy PR person, somebody who doesn't charge you $5,000 a month, but bring you whack ass interviews that nobody's gonna see.
Right.
That's hard. You got to find somebody who's like really in the circuit, really in the market. And when it comes to hip hop, there's sections. You can tell who's who. Like you got your hipster crowd over here. You got the love and hip hop crowd over here. You got XXL over here. It's different pockets of this stuff going on, and you got to be able to know somebody in each one of those areas. And if you don't know somebody in each one of those areas, it's fine, but you want to get in some of that stuff.
Do you find yourself having to like go out and be active in like the scene in order to often?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I noticed that the quieter I am, like if I don't come to stuff like this, my name starts to die down. I don't have a lot of people talking about me. You always want people talking about you, no matter whether it's bad press or good press.
You had any bad press?
No,
I didn't see any.
no, not press. I mean, I've had little internet stuff going on here and there, but nothing major.
Sure. Okay. I wanted to also ask, like, I mean, in terms of the future for you, more so in regards to your production. I know there's like other things you mentioned, having you working on some hoodies and working on like personal merch. But where do you see Super Mario in terms of the scope of music? Um, Maybe not just hip hop, just like music in general. Where do you see yourself going?
Man, my goal is to be. I don't know. I just really want a stamp in musical history.
Do you think you have a stamp in musical history?
It's weird because people are already calling me legends and all kind of weird stuff on like my comments and my Instagram, and I'm like, bro, I don't do that. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The
I took a
internet does
picture
that.
I took a picture with 40 the other day, and I posted it, and everybody's like, "Oh, two goats, two legends," and I'm like, "All right, if y'all say so, right?" Like, maybe I've impacted people in a way that I haven't realized.
Yeah.
So
Maybe.
that's one thing. My brother used to always tell me. My brother and some of my cousins, they were like, "Bro, I don't think you realize like where you are. You so focused on working that you don't realize what you've done already." And to be honest, I don't.
You got to take a moment though and like really reflect on what you have done, because sometimes you move so fast and you just continue to move forward. You don't even take a step and be like, you know what, I have accomplished a whole lot. And I am very proud of myself, and people see that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And I do. Every now and then I'll take a break.
You're real humble.
Yeah, I try to be. I have to be. I mean, being cocky has never worked for me.
It's not
it's not it for me.
How would you say? I don't know. I really want to kind of get back into you being a musician, because I think a lot of producers don't come from the musical background at all. Not a lot. I can't say most, but
nowadays.
Today in 2018, a lot of producers have never picked up the instrument, probably don't know, like they learned through technology, which is cool. It's fine. They still make great beats, but there's something about the producer that has like a musical background to me that is different. How do you approach it, being that, especially you play drums, like that's essential.
Drums is cool. It hasn't really helped as much on my production, but learning keys and learning piano, I mean, producer is a keyboard player's game. A lot of people don't realize that. People are always like, oh, musicians this, musicians that. To be honest, if you can play the keys, you can probably learn to play the bass, probably learn to play guitar.
Right.
But if you start with keys, you're destined to be good at being a producer.
I mean, especially if you're talking about like you're interested in melodies. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And so I spent some time learning keys, and that's helped more than drums. But me being a natural drummer, it clicked right away with, and that's just something that stands out for me as a producer, is like my drums. I love like hard hitting, hard knocking drums. So
yeah, rockstar lifestyle sure. Might not make it. Nah, cause like when you did was it Deconstructed, or like one of those like where you broke down your beat? Yeah. So it was like that really allowed me to understand like how you go into the studio. What's your ideal situation, like your environment for producing?
That is so important. I'm glad you asked that, because if we didn't have like, all right, let me say this a certain way. Any producer knows that your environment has to be the right way for you to be able to make the best music possible. For me, it's got to be hot. It's got to be hot in the room.
And you still got on a hoodie?
Nah.
Oh, okay.
Nah, listen, I can't. I gotta be in gym shorts. I gotta be in a t-shirt.
Comfortable.
I gotta have on my socks and my flip flops. There's gotta be a fan behind me in the corner. Like, it's weird with me. I gotta have like, I don't smoke, so I don't really need like weed or nothing. But like, it's just gotta be right. It's gotta be the right temperature. Yeah.
So it's hot.
It's gotta be a nice day outside. I gotta open a window. Like. But if I can't have that, then I'll substitute that and just turn the heat up.
I've never heard that. That's the first time I heard it got to be hot. Usually people are like, it's got to be cold. Maybe on the artist side.
I mean, it's got to be in between. I just can't be freezing in the room. Like, I hate freezing rooms. Like, even right now, it's like cold in here, but I got on a hoodie, so I'm managing.
You okay?
Yeah, but I couldn't work in this environment. I'd be like, bro, y'all put me in another room.
I mean, there are a few artists. I mean, because like I've worked in the studio environment for some years, so it's a few artists that want it hot. Like,
and it's always like, anybody who's meticulous is probably great at making music.
Absolutely. I'll tell you who that artist was after.
Okay.
But yeah, I really want to ask for those that are listening right now who are like, I hear you, bruh, but this is hard. How do I look past the struggle? Like, how do I look past like this period of time? Like those times where you were mopping the floors and you were, doing janitorial work. What were you telling yourself to be like, I'm going to still go home and work on this music thing?
Man, look, it got to a point where stuff was so weird and it was such a struggle for me that I would realize that, like, I would want to just go in my room and shut the door and make music. And then right as I'm going in the room to make music, I got responsibilities, or somebody just had an accident, or I got to go help this person. And I had to learn, like, not all of this stuff is in my control. And if I really want to make it, like, some people just you're going to have to suffer, bro. Like, I got to spend time on me. I got to spend time on myself. You have to make time for yourself, no matter who's pulling at you and what other things are trying to get in your way. You got to move them out of the way. So there comes a time where you have to give back and contribute some of your time to other things. And then there's times where you got to make time for your dreams. And the biggest key to all of this shit is balance. And then, I mean, for people who like having a hard time getting the proper equipment or getting the right resources, you really gotta know. And I'm not telling nobody to get out here in the streets and steal nothing, but you gotta hustle. You gotta, if you know that you can't afford to make music, then you gotta go make money.
Right.
If you
to get what you need. Right.
If you can't afford to be in the studio, or if you can't afford to sit down and make a beat because you ain't got a computer, go take your ass to work, man. Like, if you can't get a job, then go rake some yards. Like, do what you got to do to get your money and be smart with your money. Get your computer. When I had $1,000, my first $1,000, I was broke. You know what I'm saying? I bought a computer. And then I found somebody who had the programs, and I paid them $200 to load my computer up. Bootlegging. Yeah. I'm not supposed to be saying that shit.
It's okay. I mean, it's real though. It's what people out here trying to get it. You gotta be innovative. This is as real
as I can be. I ain't even trying. I'm not. I know y'all expect some savvy. Yeah, nah, nigga, get out there and get it, bro. And if somebody's trying to stop you, or if a situation is trying to stop you, man, push that shit to the side and focus on what you need. Because 9 times out of 10, once we get what we need, we'll be able to go back to that situation and help it more once we're stable. You can't help nobody if you ain't situated, if you fucked up.
If y'all both out here trying to get it, it's not really helpful. I feel you. How do your parents feel about where you are right now?
Everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Did they expect that you were going to go into production?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
14,
my dad,
15.
yeah, he's not surprised about nothing.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, oh yeah, you work with Drake? Like, my dad hit me when Blue Tint came out and was like, yeah, people at my job were talking about you and Blue Mint.
Blue Mint.
And I posted that
so funny.
I posted that on Instagram, and Drake went crazy. Drake saw that shit and he bugged out.
That's hilarious.
I talk about my dad a lot because he was like a huge influence as far as my music and just who I am as a person. So,
of course.
Yeah, man, a lot of stuff it is what it's supposed to be, but it's because I made it that way. If I hadn't taken some of the sacrifices and done what I was supposed to do and pushed people to the side for a while, it wouldn't be like it is. They wouldn't appreciate it now.
Right, exactly.
So, just referring back to the last thing we were talking about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, everybody's happy.
I'm happy everyone's happy. You think your daughter is going to get into music?
She already into it.
What she be doing?
Playing the guitar and singing the song. She got like this little fake blue guitar that I got her from like Toys R Us or something. And she's just sitting in the room, just sing, she's actually making up words. She wrote a song and it was like something about do what you can today for tomorrow. And I was like, bro, this is kind of deep.
That's a little deep.
What we got going on here?
Kids be knowing. That's what you don't know.
So I'm really thinking about for Christmas, like getting her like a microphone and like this fake studio looking setup.
Yeah.
We
just love that.
Yeah, we're gonna put something together.
That's cute. I'm here for it. Okay, so what can we expect? What's next for Supah Mario?
I have no idea.
You have no idea.
Wherever God takes me next.
What's your day-to-day like? What you got going on for the rest of the day?
I'm going to sleep because I've been up for 24 hours.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna go to sleep for a little bit and then I'm gonna get back up and start running again. I usually try to spend at least 2 or 3 hours on some aspect of my career.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter's out of town right now. She's with her mom, so I'm able to kind of focus on the music stuff. But yeah, get some rest and go back to work.
Do what you gotta do. Well, this has been great. I appreciate your time and all of your good advice for these young producers, especially because I think they can take away a few gems from just our conversation and be inspired and be encouraged.
I hope I helped.
Yeah, for sure. So tell them where they can find you so they can get more gems on social media.
Well, social media, Twitter is Supah, Supah, Mario, Beats, Beats. And Instagram is Supah, Supah, Mario, IG.
Perfect.
But I don't think you'll find too much information on there. When my website comes out, I'm gonna plug out with that. That link will be in all my bios. And that's when you'll be able to get newsletters and really get some of the information that you need. We'll start doing some of these. We're gonna start doing podcasts as well.
Oh, dope.
I'm also traveling And I'm coming to do speaking engagements soon, so I'll see y'all soon.
That's exceptional. I'm excited. Keep doing it. Keep elevating. And remember, the check shall reflect. All right?
For sure.
As always, you guys can find this podcast at IDM Podcast on all social media, as well as myself at Sammy Approved. And thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you. Sonically superior.